ask Pastor Grissom to come on up. I'm sorry. Asking Pastor Grissom not just to stand up, but to come up. Oh, okay. Pastor Grissom is the coolest pastor in Colorado River. He has a church where we all go to and hang out. He does the food kitchen. He does food giveaways. He's a really good impactor in our community. And so he's always been a friend, a foe in spiritual knowledge, challenging. And so we asked him to do the opening prayer.
Let us pray. Dear God, creator of all things, we come and we invite your presence and your blessing upon this occasion. We thank you for the event organizers and those who have been inspired to make life better for others. We pray, God, that you would guide the sake of the people. We pray that you will bless David and the leadership presidium. Give them good health, give them vision, give them spiritual protection. You know the labor, you know the burden, you know the energy that has been expended. Make it fruitful. Bring a better and brighter day for the people. Bless the food that's going to be served today and everything that be said. Let it take us further and make us better. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. All right. Well, here we go. At this time, I'd like to ask the Colorado River Indian Tribes Chairwoman, Ms. Amelia Flores, to come up and say a few words. And then if you have any council with you, they can come up and introduce themselves and say hello, goodbye, how are you? We'd like to thank her. It shows has a busy schedule, working on our water, our land, our corn and potatoes, right? Squash. Oh, no, no squash. We don't worry about it.
Kamadu, Inyepimul, Amelia Flores, Makapchidom, Iman Venchi Pasimul. Greetings, my name is Amelia Flores, Chairwoman of the Colorado River Indian Tribes. I just introduced myself in Mojave language. My clan is Hipa, which is Fox Clan. It is my honor to welcome you to our homelands for this very important meeting on voltaic uh, event that our Huurav company, is that what it's called? Huurav? And that means in Mojave, Dave. Yes, I was going to just say lightning, but thunder and lightning. But um, it, again, it's my honor to see all your faces here. Some I know in the audience. It's good to see you again, and others for the first time. Please enjoy yourself while here. And as Pastor Grissom says, may you be blessed. Our ancestors have blessed this land and provided this land for us to use our land, our water, our resources. But my hope and my trust for you is that you would have a very productive meeting, the meeting of the minds here. And before you leave, would you take some of your solar money and go on the floor and spend it? Leave a little of your solar money with us. But welcome again to our homelands, and please stay hydrated. It's a little hot out there, and I hope you brought, for those who come from North Country, that you brought some cooler weather with you. But without further ado, I'll let our councilwoman introduce herself, and I've got to rush off back to the office for an HR standing meeting. So good to see everybody here.
Good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Welch, council member of the Colorado River Indian Tribes. I'm going to keep it short and simple because I just got done being sick, so my voice is still coming back. But I want to thank you guys all for showing support for him and our tribal member. And I'm interested to learn what we're doing here today with solar and getting it with farming. So I'm excited and really thankful that this is being presented here today. It's a very interesting project, actually. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you, Dave, for hosting this.
Great. Great, 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 great. My name's Dave Harper. I'm a member of the Colorado River Indian Tribes. I'm from here. My family's from here. And actually, I was born in Los Angeles during the relocation of tribal members in the 60s. My dad and mom were shipped off to Los Angeles, and we lived there for a while. And I couldn't get the logic to that, right? Because they told my dad, go work in the city, come back and bring your skill back. So he went to work, and he went to work in a paint company. And he stayed there and worked. And there was just too much violence in the community, so there's 9 boys and 2 girls, and they couldn't see raising boys acting up and doing crazy stuff in the city, so they brought us home. And we wound up having to build our own house during the turnkey of HUD housing, where you come and build your own house, and they have somebody watching over you as you build it. And of course, our house had the big gaps and the extra screws and nails, but it's still stuck together. It's still standing. So that was in, 63, 64. So it's about 50, 60 years old and still hanging in there. No mud or nothing keeping it together, standing on a good foundation. And so, we that's where we came from. But originally, when we came back here, I stayed with my grandmother, and she didn't have too much electricity because I remember we were by a kerosene lamp, and she had that old water pump where we had to pump the water, and then someone had to go out there and cut the wood so we could have heat and cook, and living like settlers in the 1965, 67. And so I know a lot of you weren't even born then. It's just like a fantasy tale, but it was a hard life living here because the income was so low, and the drinking and all that good stuff, and accidents and death. For my brothers and sisters, we made it through, and a lot of us went on and did some stuff. So, during the this past year, the Department of Energy clawed back a lot of the money. And so we sat and we were listening to the tribes, 20 tribes say, we're building this, we got our funding, and all the money was pulled back. And we don't know what we're going to do. So we were talking to different funders, and they said, it'd be good if you created a company that will help these tribes doing bridge loans. Somebody needs to give them a couple of million just to keep going, maybe 2 million, 5 million. And so we sat there and thought about it, and I looked at my bank account and looked at my wallet, and I said, I don't have that 2 million. But man, I sure got a gift of gab and being stupid. And so we talked to funders, and they were like, you should think about investing in discussing with other funders how to do capital stacking and how to bring the funders together to create these bridge loans. And so we talked about it some more, and we said we wanted it to be homegrown and she was frustrated to see the money being clawed back. So she said, I'm going to help you develop her off so it has a standard process similar to a bank when tribes come and look for money to do the bridge loans. So she helped us set up her off. And actually, then we said, well, we need a board. And so we have a board. One of our board members is here. She'll talk in a little bit to introduce herself. But so far, we've done one loan to the Giddeyfield tribe in Northern California for $1 million, and that went through. So we started that one. We do have another one in the wings. Can I mention their name? Okay, I won't mention their names, but they're a federally recognized tribe living somewhere close into the state of around Oregon, somewhere around there. Anyway, so we're ready to move to get that loan out the door. So we're actually doing what we said we were going to do, working with the tribes to keep their projects moving. And so one of the things we also looked at was a thing called agrivoltaic. So here in the desert, we're in drought, and the farmers don't have enough water to farm. And they lease their lands from the allottees or tribal members. When the reservation was established, each tribal member got X amount of acreage to farm. And that's when the tribe was originally established. So tribal members have had that lot for since the tribe was created. And so what they do is they get the land, allotted land, and they lease it to farmers to come and farm their land. But the 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 land is covered by the BIA, not the tribe, because it's allotted land. So the BIA has to say so on approving the lease or the water allocation for that land. And so what happened was the farmers were going under, and the tribal members, that was their income for the year. They made 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, based on how much land they had. Well, they live off that income, and when the farmer went under, they weren't getting paid. But even more so, they were stuck with the water bill, which was between $8,000 and $10,000 that the tribal member would have to pay back. And so that's been going on for the past couple of years. And so what we said was, we already have an existing farm that we farm alfalfa. And so we went to the National Renewable Energy Lab, also called the National Lab of the Rockies. And we asked them, we wanted to be a cohort. So what they did was they developed an agrivoltaic system for 10 acres on allotted land. Because our vision was not to just do something here on the reservation, but all of the reservations in the United States. So we created this national uh, um, renewable energy agrivoltaic, a system that we could apply to all the tribes across the United States. So today, we're going to present the findings of that agrivoltaic um, project. And we have a message from the person who developed the outcome of that. And what that does is that tells you we had to do like a soil sample, we had to look at the climate, we had to look at the water usage. And actually, you'll be surprised to know that we found that the agrivoltaic uses only half the water when it's applied on the farm. And it cools the earth because of the shade. And so there are many pluses to it. And so we want to present that finding to the membership, to allotted landowners who are here today, so you can look at this and think, can I do my farming and get my lease and put solar on it and get some money there? Now, the thing is, it's just a development. We're not implementing it. We're not doing it. We didn't get the authority. We didn't get the permission. We're creating it. We're still creating it. And so we want to present and show the tribal membership, this is what we found could happen. And so we're really excited about it because, if I read the comments earlier in the past few days about tribal members talking about this, and they were saying, the tribal government doesn't fix our houses, they don't oversee our land, they don't do this and don't do that. Well, maybe 10 years ago we relied on that, or 20 years ago. But now we're looking at sustainability and sovereignty. And so we're saying, why do you have to wait for your tribe to do it? Why can't you do it yourself? Why can't you why can't you get the money and manage the money and fix the things in your house through your lease, through your allotted land, through these projects? You're able to have self-sustainability and be able to have a say in your land of what's going to happen besides farming. And so what we're wanting to do is meet with the farmers and say, because well, I'm not a farmer, I've never irrigated. The most I've ever done was get on the tractor and ride it around by the late Andy Vance, who left the keys in the tractor, right? So we drive it all over the valley. That's the most I did for farming. But we need to get with the farmer and talk concept. And what we can do for the farmer is we can even help subsidize and help pay that lease. help pay that water bill so we could bring it up to speed. We got a lot of work and we got a lot of innovative thought to this project, and we just want to share it to everybody and show you what can happen. And there's another project in the United States on a reservation. That's the Oto tribe from Oklahoma. And is Lester here? Lester, are you here? We didn't capture him, did we? We're not going to find him in the valley with tattoos on. No? Okay, yeah, we're going to find him because he's doing his presentation on his agrivoltaic on his reservation. So he'll be here later on this afternoon, evening. So we're really excited to have people here. Now, we also want to thank our sponsors. This was done not a penny from the tribe. And that's what we pride ourselves is when we bring these symposiums to the tribe, we don't charge any tribe for this. We do this because we feel that we want to impact the tribe. We want to move and create the wave of for our tribe to get on board. We're tired of being victims. We're tired of saying poor Indians. We're tired. We want to be innovative. We want to be the cutting edge. We want to create the wave, and people want to come like today. People are here from out of town not because we're poor Indians. They're seeing something happening here. They're seeing something that Huurav is creating in the United States, and they want to see it. They want to feel it. They want to see the people's reactions. They want to know what's going on. So we have people here from funding sources, from banks, from CDFIs, from private companies who are here to experience this with us as tribal people. And so we're very happy to welcome here. We're very happy that everyone's here tonight. So I would like to introduce, if she would please, our board member. Her name is Candace Long, and she could give you a little bit of who she is, and she's on the Huurav board.
Thanks, Dave. So my name is Candace Long. I am a strategic tax advisor at a law firm located in Minneapolis called Winthrop and Weinstein. I am a CPA, though, not an attorney. And I have Big Four accounting experience working with tax credits. So that's all I've specialized my entire career. Now, back in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed. And that's when the game was completely changed in terms of renewable energy tax credits being available to tribes. That has never before been available to tribes or other tax exempts, and there's really not a good reason why. Why should a tax exempt not be able to access a 30% tax credit just due to their tax status? And so certainly this became, leveled the playing field for tribes and other entities trying to access and figure out how are we going to pay for the solar, the geothermal, the batteries, the energy storage, the slew of technologies that are available to help advance renewable energy generation as well as storage. And I dug in very deeply into that. And I have found a lot of value personally with helping tribes access those monies. As you can imagine, tax law, tax rules are super complicated. They're very complex and continue to evolve in that direction. And so tribes have never really had to concern themselves with federal income tax matters because if they're tax exempt, why does it matter? But now that that is a potential, that's an option, and we're talking about 30%, and it could scale up to a 50% tax credit, a refund, a cash refund that could go back to the tribe for advancing these sort of technologies. One of the issues, though, with these tax credits is that they always come on the back end. And so that leaves a really big question in terms of how are we going to find the money up front in order to pay for all of this work so that we can get that tax credit on the back end after we've placed our asset into service, after we've claimed it on our tax return. And that is where, there's been a major gap. Tribes, there's oftentimes there can be grant monies that could be available, but we know with this current administration, the rug got pulled out right underneath many tribes who had already applied for and received Solar for All money, and that got clawed back. And that's unfortunate, extremely unfortunate. And these are tribes that had plans that were fully baked, ready to receive the money, ready to implement, ready to install. And now they're left with figuring out, well, where do we make this up? the capital stack is super important, trying to figure out how are we going to, what monies, what levers can we pull on so that we can fund these projects. And that is really where Huurav comes into play. You know, tribes also don't have the same access to lending, you know, that other, let's say, traditional lendees have. And so this is where Huurav comes into play to really bridge that gap and lend money out to tribes that have renewable energy projects that are in the pipeline. They're ready to go, they're ready to receive the money. And so I really appreciate being able to continue to participate in this, and I love the opportunity that I have to serve as a board member with Huurav.
Good job. Next, I'd like to introduce Jen Ruda. She is the CEO of Huurav, and she can give more. She's the brain to the outfit, so she'll probably give you more than a handful of what we're doing.
Thanks, Dave. First, I just wanted to acknowledge all of our sponsors individually. When I call you, if you could please stand up or wave, so if folks want to catch up with you later and learn more about what you do to support tribal communities, that would be fantastic. Over in the back corner, Kevin Lowe from HP. Yay. MJ and Jeff from Raven Outcomes in the middle here. Thank you. Ram from US Global Energy here. Jeff from Digital Native Consultants. You'll hear from him a little later tonight. Jennifer's here from Southwestern Power Group. Jennifer, thank you. Florence Lidka here from Oista. Florence, fantastic. And we should have Rachel here from KLJ Engineering. Thank you, Rachel. And Jesse from Z Global Engineering. Right there, great. Nicole Hill is here from the Nature Conservancy. And Adam Miller from Celerity. Fantastic. We also have Matt Gertz from Baker Botts. So, all right, great. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate all the support. We have some slides we can queue up here, Mitchell, if you wouldn't mind, with a little bit more about Huurav Energy. We'll just go through just a couple of these, and Dave and Candace, please help. But just like what they said, our goal is to help bridge the gap to help tribes finance projects that they want to build, ones that have been stalled over the last year, but the communities want to keep going. Next slide. And here we were created to help fill this gap specifically. And so my role is to support Dave and the other financial leaders on our team, providing the expertise to vet the projects. I have over 30 years of experience in large-scale energy development, and I work with our technical teams, many of the sponsors that are here tonight, to help make sure projects are ready to go, that they have the expertise needed to design them, permit them, make sure they've mitigated impacts appropriately, and they're ready to go into construction, and they needed to make that last step to get the financing aligned. So I provide the back-end technical support to help our team, and then the folks that are skilled with project finance can move ahead with the team at Huurav and our board members to help those projects get access to the funding that they need. Next. And our model is also about education and mentoring. It's really important to have folks that can have deep cultural competency, technical expertise, and financing background, all working together, and that we share that information to tribal communities to build capacity. We are being mentored ourselves by groups like Oista and Native CDFIs that are out there, have been doing this hard work with the communities for a long time, and then we in turn mentor new groups that want to come in and so build their own energy programs and then build their projects. And so we provide all of these things with our partners. So loans, technical assistance, mentoring, and then partnering. And one really exciting thing that I've learned as a non-tribal member is how generous tribal leaders are sharing expertise with other tribes. So for example, Yakima Power is here tonight. Ray Wiseman is here, general manager of Yakima Power, and he's partly here to share information about his tribal utility and how they're putting their projects together with other tribes that are here tonight. We actually have 14 different tribes represented in this room this evening, all with progressive energy programs coming to work together and share information. And that is really exciting because if all of those tribes get tribal tribal utilities formed if they haven't got them already, or they move their projects along, everybody wins. We don't have to be competitive. We can help the other tribes all get their projects moving. And I'm really excited to see that. That's a really fun part about working to support tribal communities for me personally. Yeah, and then here is just some numbers for you. Our first bridge loan was $1 million. We now have those 36 families on that reservation are going to be teed up to receive clean power when their project's installed. And so that loan helped keep the project going. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Next. And it's really important because, for nations should be able to set their own path for tribal energy sovereignty. And so having access to funding is one way to do that. And we're very committed to helping support tribal energy sovereignty throughout the country. And here's just a little more information about partnering with us. We welcome outreach from anyone who thinks this is something they want to be involved in, but other tribal nations, investors, philanthropies, other technical firms, folks that have something to offer, please reach out to anybody on the Huurav team to work with us. Here's a picture of our board and our leadership team. You can find more information out about us at www.huurav.com.
So as you see, we're still developing. We just started. We're only like 3 months in. So we'll have tribal people on our board. But I really want to give a shout out. I don't know where Florence from Oista. If you could stand, please. I want to recognize Oista because when we started, we needed help, direction, understanding. We needed alliances to help us. And Oista took us under their wing and really has been mentoring us and pushing us and helping us along the way. Like I told her when I first met, we want people to align with us with the same thought, helping our people. And we sat and we talked and we found out we have the same purpose, the same value, and they've just been really helpful with us. They're going to help us become a CDFI so we could manage money across the United States for energy projects. We lined up, we understand, we're together, and we want to really recognize Oista and Florence because she's been helping me, a travel member from here who grew up poor as poor, with nothing, with a big family struggling, trying to just eat potatoes and gravy, to where we're now moving in a big picture, and I want to thank you for it. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And so now, it's not ceremonial. We'll give us a better, buy her a soda. But these we want to give out to the allottees. If you're a travel member and you have allotted land, we want to give you this to thank you for coming. So just raise your hand. Now we're going to check the rules too, make sure that's your land. But we want to welcome you here. This actually workshop is for you. And so those are brand new hats we just made and had them up. So the design was by my son Spencer, the singing Mojave, who's living out in North Carolina. But we grabbed him and told him the design we wanted, and he's an artist. So he drew the emblem for Huurav, and he also drew the handkerchief that you see. We had to get after him and tell him to do it, so he did it. But he created those for us on our company. Okay, so with that, we're going to get started on the agrivoltaic. What agrivoltaic is, it's say for instance here we have an alfalfa field, and they want to put solar on it. So we work with the farmer, and they put the solar on top of the farm. And then when it's time to do the crops for the cutting, that rises, and they're able to come down and they cut the alfalfa and get it ready for harvest. And so that's one for what we have here. This one, he's going to provide us information on what agrivoltaic is and what they came out with in the National Renewable Energy Lab, or the Lab of the Rockies. So, Mitchell?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Lep. Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Lepley. I'm with the National Laboratory of the Rockies, formerly NREL, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. I'm sorry that I can't be here in person, but that's just a sign of the times. Um, But my background, I have a PhD in geography that was focused on agrivoltaics, and I've been working on agrivoltaics over the last 6 years. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm based in Tucson right now. So Arizona and Southern Arizona is home and the place that I know and I'm familiar from, and it's inspired so much of my work. So I'm excited to talk about Arizona agrivoltaics today, how we can grow food and energy in the desert. And you know, it's really exciting to be here in the context of this Huurav Energy project that is really starting to take off. So my team is the Inspire team at National Lab of the Rockies, and we have active agrivoltaic research sites throughout the country, all different types from crops to pollinator habitat to grazing. And we work with partners, universities, farmers, other people throughout the US and internationally on agrivoltaics. So these are just a few examples of what our research sites look like. And you can see the diversity. I've worked on Jack's Solar Garden there, kind of in the middle, and then below it, the Biosphere 2, outside of Tucson, among some other sites in Arizona. And I want to really talk about and start with what is agrivoltaics? So what do we mean when we say this? And really, it's the combination of photovoltaic solar panels with agriculture, whether you're putting panels on greenhouses, planting pollinator plants between the panels, grazing, growing commodity, really, you know, gaining scale, and we're beginning to see it enter the mainstream. So this is a fixed tilt, south facing, standard row spacing between those rows of panels, but elevated 8-foot panels here to accommodate cattle pasture. And so, you know, the cows aren't going to bump into this, uh, but you have that tall structure and, you know, pretty heavy dual 2P panel there on this racking. Um, this is an example of another fixed tilt south facing system, but this is in, you know, this is in Massachusetts where you have a lot of cloud coverage, less sunlight. And so they actually space the panels out here to provide more sunlight for the crops below. And this is something you might do in a climate where you're light limited. So not something we might see in Arizona, but definitely an option. Here's our site in our backyard of the National Lab of the Rockies campus. So this is our barn site, and this is very traditional standard utility scale panel spacing and panel height. The panel height is a little shorter than we like it for farming in between, and the spacing is okay, but you know, we if this was built for agrivoltaics, we probably want those panels higher and a little further apart. But we've grown all different types of crops here over the years, and it's been really successful system to have. Now here's another traditional height, but that wider row spacing, and you can see that there's some sheep grazing here between the panels, so you're getting lots of sunlight, lots of energy production, and these sheep help maintain that vegetation cover. And this is Jack's Solar Garden, one of our big Colorado research sites, 1.2 megawatt system. And we've grown all sorts of specialty crops, vegetable crops here, herbs, and at a pretty large scale, almost around 5 acres. But we've also had cattle in this system, and part of the system has the panels raised to 6 feet, and another part has the panels raised to 8 feet. So to test these different heights, and what we found is that raising the panels makes farming, moving small equipment through and having people work in here just that much easier and more comfortable. And the 8 foot height especially accommodates taller people. And, if you have small tractor you want to bring through, that works very well. Here's going back to a fixed tilt system with just standard height and width. So very standard energy focused solar system, but you have pollinator habitat on the left and you have sheep grazing on the right. Just some nice examples of what you can do. The sheep grazing tends to be cheaper than than mowing the site for a solar owner, or applying herbicide, and it benefits the person grazing because they have access to land and they get that contract for grazing their sheep. So this has been a really successful couple of strategies. And finally, we have the fixed vertical bifacial, where the solar panels produce energy on both sides. And this really is nice for accommodating machinery and row crops where you don't want to lose any land to the solar, but you have that trade-off where you're getting most of your energy production in the morning and in the afternoon, and generally less energy production than if you have the tracking system that follows the sun throughout the day. And as we think about how to do agrivoltaics, and we've been researching it over the years, looking at all these different systems, we've come up with these 5 Cs, or this recipe for success. You really want to think about the climate you're in. If you're in the East Coast, with lots of clouds, rain, not very much sun, you have to think about how the shade of those panels might impact your crops. Whereas if you're in Southern Arizona, you have tons of sun, it's hot. It changes the situation completely. So when you do get to building your system and the configuration of your solar panels, them closer together, and in Southern Arizona, where you'd have them farther apart in the East Coast, trying to maximize that sunlight. And it does influence which crops you're going to grow, where you're going to plant them. All important things to think about. The compatibility with machinery, livestock, or the plants you're growing, how tall your plants are, how big your tractor is, how large are your animals. And finally, collaboration is really key. And we emphasize establishing collaborations with partners in the community, um, lots of discussion between whoever's doing the farming or agriculture and the solar developer as early as possible, and just trying to make sure that everyone has input on this system, uh, to ensure that it has the best use for everyone involved. Um, and what this comes down to is trying to maximize these potential benefits and avoid some of the trade-offs. So you can see here, a list of possible benefits and trade-offs: decreased plant stress, lower irrigation requirements in some climates, improved forage quality, soil health, decreased land degradation, increased biodiversity and conservation, crop marketability, farmer and livestock health, community acceptance of solar, decreased vegetation management costs for some of these benefits. But depending on your those 5 Cs and how you design the system, your climate, you could see decreased yields for some crops, decreased land use for agricultural production, decreased soil health, or increased soil compaction if the construction process isn't careful. um, the shade can delay harvests. You can have uneven moisture distribution when you get rain, and it can increase the upfront costs if you have to raise those panels or space them out. So it's important to think about these trade-offs and understand that they do exist. And we think about this a lot, in an agriculture versus energy focused system. So for agriculture, you tend to want to raise the panels, space them farther apart, and sometimes introduce that interpanel spacing. Whereas for energy-focused system, you usually have the panels lower to the ground, closer together, and no interpanel spacing, just to make it cost effective and produce the most energy on the least amount of land. But All these resources and many more you can find in our Getting Started guide. So I invite you to scan that QR code, and you can go on our National Lab of the Rockies Inspire website, and there's tons of resources there. So I invite you all to explore that at your leisure, and please reach out with questions. Now, I really want to focus in on the Arizona region, and a lot of this is in the context of our climate and water and the Colorado River, which, plays such an important role in our agriculture across the state, our water resources. And as I was putting this together, all these headlines were popping up as we missed this key deadline for negotiations. And there's this expectation that Arizona's going to lose a lot of Colorado River access in the period ahead. And this stems from the fact that we live in this hot, dry region with ample sunlight. And so, what this uh, map shows you from our laboratory is just the total amount of sunlight falling across the United States. And this is how we think about the solar resource available for solar energy production, but it's also important for agriculture. And you can see that southern Arizona and the Colorado River corridor down there is, among the regions of the United States with the most solar and most sunlight. Um, and I used this in my dissertation when I was thinking about where agrivoltaics might actually be beneficial for plants and crops. So I combined that sunlight data with a key indicator of environmental stress, vapor pressure deficit, which is really important for plant growth. And this was based on a lot of our research that I'll talk about in the next slides on how plants respond to their environment, to growing in the sun and growing in the shade of agrivoltaics. But what you see on this map in this left panel is that this River corridor region of Arizona is one of the hot spots in the entire world and in the United States, most definitely, for potential benefits of agrivoltaics for crop production. So this is really encouraging for those of us thinking about agrivoltaics in this area. Now, how do we come to that conclusion? We actually went out in our field sites and we measured photosynthesis and how these plants were feeling. You can see Mira here with a portable gas exchange chamber clamped onto the leaf of this zucchini plant, and it's measuring how that plant is breathing carbon in and water out, and all the environmental characteristics match to the ambient scale. And we do this in the context of the agrivoltaic system, and then this full sun control, where the same plants are planted in the full sun about 20 feet away. And you can just see that on the left, the zucchini plant in the agrivoltaic system looks healthy. Its leaves are spread out. They're kind of falling down. It's just there collecting sunlight and growing happily. But in the full sun, you see this zucchini plant's leaves are really curled up. They're much smaller. It's doing all that it can to avoid that intense sunlight. And our measurements really confirm that these plants are more stressed in the sun. Um, in southern Arizona, we found that there's this phenomenon called midday depression. And my advisor likes to joke it's like him when he misses his afternoon coffee. He just starts falling asleep. But essentially, at noon each day in the summer, these plants in the full sun will shut down completely. They stop photosynthesizing, they stop doing any work, and they just take a siesta for the rest of the day. But on the left, in that shade of the solar panels, these plants are not experiencing that stress and they continue photosynthesizing throughout the entire day. And this oftentimes ends up being the reason that we get those higher yields in the shade for some crops and in climates like this. When we expanded this work to Colorado, this is Jack's Solar Garden. So this is a much greater scale, a 1.2 megawatt system. spread over about 5 acres with solar panels at 6 feet and 8 feet, that single axis tracking style where they follow the sun throughout the day. And both at our system in Arizona and Colorado, we've grown all sorts of varieties of peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, celery, zucchini, um, beans and herbs, greens, lettuce, kale, chard, and across the board in both Arizona and Colorado here, we've seen a lot of beneficial results. That midday depression phenomenon is much more subdued here in Colorado, and these plants. The environment is a little less oppressive for these plants, but we still see increased crop yield for many of these crops and their varieties in the shade of solar panels. Um, and I just wanted to show you what this looks like and how we use this research to determine that, that this area down along the Colorado River in southern Arizona and the corresponding part of California there really has the highest potential for experiencing these benefits from our current understanding. Now, to put some context to those results and show you some of the numbers, if you look at this figure all the way to the left in the top panel, you can see that in blue, those blue bars for the jalapeno and tomato, those plants actually had an increased water use efficiency, which means they're better at using water. They produce more biomass and yield for the same amount of water or for less water than the plants in the sun. And in that panel below, you can see that for chiltepin peppers and tomatoes, we actually got higher yields than in the full sun. And for jalapenos, we got about the same yield in the sun and in the shade of the agrivoltaics. But again, those jalapenos had a higher water use efficiency. So you're getting that same yield with much less water. In the middle there, that figure is showing that in alfalfa, an agrivoltaic alfalfa system increased soil moisture retention compared to the full sun alfalfa. And we'll dig more into those alfalfa results in the next slide. But some other water impacts have to do with the configuration of the system. And so on the right there, you can see the distribution of soil moisture in between and underneath solar panels at Jack's Solar Garden by our colleague Matt Sturcio. And you get a big reduction in the amount of soil moisture from rain underneath the panels. Whereas on the western drip edge there, these afternoon thunderstorms actually concentrate that rain falling off the panel, and that's where you see the most soil moisture just from rainfall. So design considerations to keep in mind. And going back to that alfalfa, this study that found that in 3 of 4 seasons for alfalfa growth, the agrivoltaic system actually increased the production and yield of the alfalfa compared to the full sun. And you can see on the right some of the initial yield results from a potato variety at Jack's Solar Garden, where we saw up to 30% increase in yield for potatoes grown in agrivoltaics. Of course, there's variations with the amount of water. We had 100% and 50% irrigation, and even where within the solar array you plant these crops. And it varies plant to plant, crop to crop, and variety to variety. So there's a lot of potential there. And finally, one of this newest areas we're exploring is how agrivoltaic systems can actually alleviate the heat stress that farm workers experience. Farm workers are far more exposed to heat-related illness. Solar panels can provide shade and lower air temperatures, and agrivoltaics can potentially help reduce heat-related stress. Anecdotally, we know it for a fact, and we're trying to put numbers to this phenomenon that we've observed working out here for so long. So I want to say thank you. Again, really happy to be able to give this presentation. I hope it gives you a good idea of what agrivoltaics is, what it can look like, why this region is really so important, and why we're so excited for this Huurav Energy project to move forward and be, one of the biggest crop agrivoltaic sites in the nation and one of the first in this region that's potentially critical for agrivoltaic production. So Thank you very much.
Well, if you know me, I'm not a fan of squash, so I don't really care what squash does. But we really worry about that alfalfa because that's one of our mainstays here. And so I'm really glad he touched on that. And if you want to know more, actually, we'll probably have some more series of education on the crops that are being farmed in the agrivoltaic. So this is just the starting point. You know, when I was growing up in the valley, probably not 1966, 67. We got our first telephone. We were like the Boltons almost when we got that telephone. We were, hanging up, calling. I can't remember what it was. Where you to get the time and temperature. What was it? I think it was a 3 digit. So we do that all the time on the phone just to see what time it was and what the temperature was. Anyway, and so then my mom would be calling on the phone talking to my aunt, and she'd be talking, and they'd be laughing, and all of a sudden out of nowhere she'd say, "Get off the line. I don't know who's on this line. Get off of it right now. I'm gonna call the police." And we just kind of trip out on her because we had a party line, and so people on there would be listening on each other's phone calls, right? And so sometimes you'll be really talking, just like, "I said, get off the line right now." And then she goes, "Darn you," and she'd hang up. Wait a while, then she'd call my aunt back again, and then they'd get on their gossip for a while. And, that's just how it would go. Or sometimes the phone would just ring, and then she'd pick up the phone, like, "Who are you? Why are you calling me? Leave us alone." And then we kind of freak out because then we'll be looking out the window, right? But that was the old days of party line when we were all on the same line. Well, for us growing up, bunch of boys playing outside, playing football, busting windows, and getting in trouble, we always saw the power line up there. And 9 times out of 10, you'll probably see somebody's shoe hanging up there. I don't know what got into us. Our shoes were either on the roof or they were hanging on the power line. And, you'd look up and like, whose shoes are those? And like, ah. Or sometimes we'd have we try to make kites out of plastic bread, cut it, and then, because we never went to town, there was so many of us, and we'd have to make our own fun, and you'd see the parachute on top of the power line. And so that's when I came to love and learn my power line because, as we start talking more about the transmission line, for agrivoltaic, we need a transmission line and we need a substation. And when we did this study, when we looked at the power lines on our reservation, we found that no line goes out. It's all within the reservation, right? And so we didn't find this out until we had our friend who does transmission, who's very, how long have you been doing that for? 50 years? 50 plus. So he's been doing this more than some of you guys that age. And I gather it's changed a lot, or is it still, well, he'll tell you. So I want to introduce Bob Stewart. He works with Seven Skyline Consultant. He's our consultant, and he's our bare knuckles guy when we go to the utilities. He's our guy when we take on the utilities. So I'd like to introduce Bob Stewart.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to be here to give you an overview of the transmission distribution system and try to simplify it for you. So I have over 50 years of experience, actually about 55, 35 with Pacific Gas and Electric, a rather large utility in Northern California, being a little facetious. I have roughly 20 years of experience in the renewable energy field, and the last 8 years probably with Seven Skyline 7, advocating for local tribal communities to get a fair shake with the local utilities who are not the easiest to deal with, quite frankly. And so we fight the good battle and push back on them and hold them accountable. So I'm certainly very dedicated to advocating for local tribal communities and on their behalf. Next slide. So to give you just a very simple idea of the difference between transmission, distribution, and local, your local homes, how you're served. Transmission, I would consider it basically, transmission distribution is a transportation system. It helps connect generation supplies to the local loads, and the conduit for that are high voltage lines. So transmission, particularly extra high voltage transmission, what I would consider analogous to the superhighways. That's the I-10s, the I-15s. They cross state boundaries, interstate transportation, and likewise, 500,000 volt is very analogous to the interstates. Distribution, on the other hand, that's sort of a radial supply. That's when you take the transmission to a local substation, and from there it's all radial. From there it goes out to the homes, just one way. It's simpler, easier to connect smaller projects. And give you, for instance, 750 kDV project that we're talking about for Huurav will supply over 100 homes, or in terms of irrigation, around 7 or 8, 9 deep well irrigation pumps. And the focus here is to, give you an idea of local distribution and how that could combine the benefits of, agriculture and, local solar voltaic production. So the flow, I'll give you, for instance, how I got here today. Really, I left the Phoenix area on the local streets and got on the state highways, and then I merged onto I-10. Literally drove about 180 miles, and then I turned off and then got back on the local state highways, and then, to the casino here. So that's basically how the flow worked from transmission to the substation to the distribution. So transmission bridges the gap, takes it to the local distribution substation, where it's now distributed literally to your homes and communities and shopping centers and so forth. So here you see a picture of the local distribution station. It's a 69,000 volt to 12,470 volt station, and the distribution lines that leave there go to your local homes and farms and ranches and so forth. And the capacity advantages. So you think of it, the distribution center, the substation is sort of a supply, the vehicle that gets power to your homes. Distribution lines are the roads, and they're very narrow. They're not large. They don't carry a lot of capacity, but they have enough capacity to take your power to your homes. And the load usage is really the traffic. So the more load, the more traffic you have to get from the distribution substation center to your local homes. In this particular project, we looked at it, and not to complicate matters, but oftentimes for small home loads, you might just serve it single phase, just 2 wires. But when we're talking about larger size projects, it has to be 3-phase. That's just the way the industry rolls, and provide the balance. So when we're talking about 750 kW project, it needs to have a 3rd phase. So in this particular, just looking at it, we're going to have to add a 3rd phase, and that'll have to be negotiated and agreed upon with the local utility here, EIA. Next question. So system limits. So there are constraints that the local utility has to pay attention to. So it's sort of a red line. So one of the things, the most important thing, besides the voltage, is really the size of the conductor, how large it is diameter-wise, to be able to carry the amount of load to be able to serve the local homes in the community. So as lines get loaded, it becomes very heat sensitive. So current that goes through a conductor causes that conductor to heat up, so it gets more malleable. That line now sags. That actually becomes a very much of a safety hazard. There are requirements by the utilities to keep the minimum height from the conductor to ground a minimum of 25 feet. That's for the protection of farm workers and general public. Anything lower would jeopardize their health. Again, voltage drop, the more load current that goes through a conductor, that increases the voltage drop, causes voltage flicker, and your power quality, you know, deteriorates as a result. So one of the things that's sort of my level area of expertise is system protection, protecting the lines. When you have anomalies, you have to have circuit breakers at the substation to be able to sense significant amount of current flowing in those lines. It's a difference between hundreds of amps and tens of thousands of amps. So those overcurrent relays will detect that anomaly, the short circuit, and de-energize the circuit breaker and make it safe. The analogy, if you looked at a water system, if you had a pipe and if it ruptured, you have, immediate amount of water that would potentially flood an area. And the reason, and the analogous is you have to shut it off at the pump to shut down the water. So in an electrical circuit, when you have a short circuit, you have to de-energize it and shut the flow of electricity to prevent, a problem. So the current status is we believe the wire size is large enough to carry 750 kW. And in fact, in some cases, we're going to actually be reducing the amount of load that the substation has, the utility has to carry to serve the customer. So pretty confident about that. The goal is, of course, safety, and you have to work with the utility. They have reasonable requirements to make sure that everything is de-energized. Next slide. So here's geographical overview in Google Earth. You can see it at I think the top right, if you can see that it's a yellow pin there. That's where Booth Road substation is, and the 12 kV leaves that and goes along the road, and then down on the lower, there you go, on the lower left is where the distribution pole is, and that's single phase. So there'll be about a mile of distribution line they'll have to add a third phase in order to provide power to the 750 kW solar project. So lastly, your rights, really, there are federal laws mandating that the local, you have the right to interconnect to a distribution line or transmission line, of course, based on the size of your project. And you have the right to get fair treatment and to have, have the rules of the road apply to you just like anybody else. So, that's kind of where I come in. I know what the utilities have been doing. I've been doing that for years to make sure that they're playing by the rules and playing fairly. So you have the right to get in there and negotiate long-term arrangements, and of course, that's going to be easier said than done. But I'm very confident in this project. We've met Joe Stewart, the manager at the local BIA. They're really gone out of their way to help the local community. He understands, the rights of the tribal community, and so I think, in my experience dealing with some of the other utilities, I think this is going to be a win. So the Huurav project, it's really well-sized. In my opinion, it's not going to provide any major problems for the local utility. And other than, the reality is you're still going to have to spend the money connect that third phase, the utility will do that. And so I think it's going to be a really good partnership to collaborate with the local utility and get this project done. Uh, this size project typically could be a fast track project. So in order to establish what needs to get done, a 30-day process, they'll proffer a contract and give you an idea what the cost estimate is going to be. Um, Not to deminimize it, it's you know it'll be a fair amount of money, but when you look at the overall cost of the project, I think it's going to be the payback on this is going to be excellent. Okay, final slide. So just to kind of tee things up, feel free to ask questions here, but it gives you energy independence. You'll be able to supply your homes and your local community this and provide benefit to the agriculture, as the gentleman described before me. But it's a real benefit. It's a win-win. Helps the agriculture grow the products and provide energy independence to the community, reduce the cost of your electricity. So we're obviously get started. We have to do the environmental impact studies and look to the geotech studies and all the requisite studies to make sure that you've got all things right and proper. Then of course there'll have to be electrical interconnection study done. And as I said, I think that's should be a fairly short process. So one of the final things, after all the preliminary studies done, then literally file an interconnection request. It's pretty much pro forma with the utility, and then they'll do the studies and give you an estimate, a cost estimate, and a timeline for doing that. Okay. Do I have time to entertain questions or no? Okay. Yeah. So hopefully I didn't put anybody to sleep. And questions? Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What about existing right-of-ways? The right-of-way is going to change, or lease agreements, crossing from
So,
owners?
yeah, the question was on right-of-ways, and will they change?
Yeah, or can you use existing right-of-ways?
No, I believe we can use existing right-of-ways. That'll have to be something that the utility have to deal with. What we're envisioning is the pole line comes down I don't remember the name of the road, but I think they will just need to add a third phase to the poles. So they may have to replace some of the poles, but I think the utilities normally will have a right-of-way,
Already established pre-existing.
Yeah, so that's a good question. If we were to have to add a new line, traverse highway or whatever, then that would be a question that the rights of way are really important. But I don't expect they already have existing right of ways. And it's just, if they have to replace some poles, maybe so, add the conductor, but I not envision it to be a right of way issue. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? All righty. Okay, Dave.
So what we're talking about is that down on 7th and Indian School Road, we looked at this 10-acre field, and you're talking about the right-of-way. There is an existing right-of-way, but we have to go to the tribe on that right-of-way. And so if the tribe was to do a solar facility, we're actually providing the infrastructure of the policy and the process. We're initially laying that down, so when the tribe has their own solar, they have to follow the same process we're doing. And so we're actually helping the tribe lay the foundation, so when they decide to do theirs, they're going to follow what we did. So And darn it, I wanted to try to do it first because it's costing us, but we're gonna try to get it done as best as we can. And so we're looking at 10 acres on allotted land that has an existing right of way that the tribe has to approve. So we're really hoping the tribe would grasp onto this concept and support the tribal member and on this particular project. So, thank you, Bob. What we want to do is we want to see who's all here. From the Torres Martinez tribe, if you're here, please stand up. Are you standing up, Thomas? All right, that's Tom Source. Warm Springs tribe, are you here? Yeah, there is, Warm Springs. Yakima Nation, are you here? Yeah. Kuchan tribe, are you here? You're supposed to be here. Darn them guys. Oto, Missouri tribe, are you here? You're supposed to be here. Hopi tribe, are you here? Oh, okay. He went out the door, probably getting us some coffee. Good for him. Our cousins from Fort Mojave, are you here? Yes, yeah. Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, are you here? All right. Crow tribe, are you here? There they are. Havasupai tribe, are you here? Yeah. All right. And the critters from Crit, are you here? Yeah, all right. All right, so tribal members, did you get a raffle ticket? Raise your hand if you didn't, and Shannon Lee has them, get them right there from her. Shannon, one tribal member came in late, I bet. She needs a ticket. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. All right. Anybody else? So we're raffling off. Thank you, Kevin Lowe from Hewlett Packard, the printers. Right there, we got 4 of them. So you go home and you could make oatmeal in there, or I don't know, burritos, some kind. But yeah, so I hope this has been informative. We're moving along. We got a lot of other stuff that we got going on, but let me see. All right, so I guess we're going to break for a dinner break. We'd like to thank the Lily of the Valley Church. They were, again, well, don't clap until after you eat. But it's not fishes and loaves, it is spaghetti tonight. So we have that. We like to thank them for providing the meal. We always like to look for local vendors, and then we give to the church. I give back, and I do that because when I was like dirt dog poor, I didn't have no job. My sister Francine, uh, she got me to go cook at the Lily of the Valley Soup Kitchen, and actually that's what I did for about I don't know, a year, probably 2 years, and that's all I did. And we started out with 5 people, then it went to 10. Pretty soon we had like 60 people showing up. I hope it was my cooking. I don't know, but we even went to drive-through. People who were working would come by like, "Hey, I heard you guys are cooking today." So I had my little cult following in the church. Sorry, Pastor. Um, but yeah, so I always try to get back to the church and to the people because, man, I'm telling you, I took care of my mom for 7 years until she passed, and I didn't have no job. I quit my job. I came home and just took care of her, and then after everything was over, I had nothing to do, so I went to the soup kitchen. So then it just kind of launched, and here I am, just sitting across the world in a bus, and I'm doing well. Well, not really, but I'd like to think that. So yeah, we're gonna break for dinner, and we'll have raffle prizes. I also want to recognize our Miss Crit uh, Queens. Right? Can you stand? Oh, there's one. Come on up. So we like to introduce yourself and like you don't have to go back 20 generations. Right. But grandpa's good, but I always tease him like you hear him go back 10 years, 20,000 relations, and I know you're Mojave. You know how I could tell? We're the same color. It comes summertime, we'll be the same color too. All right, yeah.
Huwag Brenda Deswitaki Mulika Tarapi Kamai Kamu Hotachido. Ima Kadida Daki and Tachido. Hello, my name is Brenda Deswitaki. I'm the 18-year-old daughter of Candida Ducky. I'm the reigning Miss Colorado River Indian Tribes 2025-2026. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Winter Melody Harper, and I am the current reigning Junior Miss Colorado River Indian Tribes. The Colorado River Indian Reservation is home to 4 tribes, the Mojave, Chemehuevi, Navajo, and Hopi. Today, I am wearing Mojave regalia and proudly representing the Mojave people. Thank you for inviting us. We are very honored to be here. Thank you for everyone for coming out to our beautiful tribe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorena Irene Stone. I am Little Miss Colorado River Indian Tribes, and I just want to say thank you for having us. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Lena Renee Kamana, and I am your first attended Junior Miss Colorado River Indian Tribes. Thank you.
Would you come up and say a few words about the song of our people? And I didn't get the fellow here with the gourd. I know he's from somewhere. Well, we're all from somewhere, but I know he's from another tribe. If he could say, they wanted him to sing a few songs, a couple of songs. So this is a little bit of our culture. Larry is our one of our traditional singers. He's been singing since he was like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he's 20 now, so just turned 20. So yeah.
Pachami mi daw. Yech leri ha meri molians. Or si moik. Amakav hi moik. Mo yech mo au ko au. Mo po mo yech ko au. Ko pit at the care apipach yomiek mem. A hot me at the It's good to see you all, different people, different races. You know, we're here today on behalf of my cousin who asked me to come and speak on behalf of a little bit of the history of the knowledge I was taught from my teacher. He lived to be 94 years old, and he knew much information. So I'm here today to speak a little bit about the song itself. Um, at one time, our people had many songs. We had our own clan songs. And then there was a time that we had came across, a Mojave man came across another man who was a Cahuilla man from the California reservation. He's either Torch Martinez or it was either Morongo, but the two best friends, they had been best friends. And the Morongo man or the Cahuilla man had taught the Mojave man the bird song. And once that bird song, in that time, our land, we didn't have reservations. We were all just scattered. There's northern, central, and southern bands of Mojaves. And in that time, you know, the Mojave Valley was overfilled with a lot of Mojaves, all the way down to this Blythe area, all the way up in between. You know, that's before the government put us on reservations. But at that time, you know, the man came down and he was able to sing the song. And it told, you know, at the time it was told in the Cahuilla language. And the Cahuilla people are our allies, but we don't speak the same tongue. So they were singing, he was singing that the way that Cahuilla man taught him how to sing that bird song. And he sang it amongst the people here, and the people fell in love with it because it was real catchy and it was really, it was entertaining. You know, it was for pleasure. So as time went on, you know, the song, you know, was brought into our ceremonies. And at that time, we had a ceremony for 3 days and 4 nights. So for this song in particular to come through to give power, which we have today, we gave it to much power to the song because it keeps us up throughout the night from falling asleep and just staying awake. It's vibrant. It's a song that's jazzy, as the old people say. So that's what they use now. There was certain families that brought this song into the big house, and it was from there it grew to where people, the people then that were babies grew to be old people to understand that this is the song we're going to keep and we're going to adopt it to our ceremonies. So the song tells, okay, so anyway, the song was transcribed into Mojave language to tell a story in the early 1920s and into the 1930s. It was really active then. And those old people in that time despised the song being sung in the big house where we have our ceremonies at because it was for pleasure, it was for fun. But there was a time where these men had came together. There's three men that got together, and they're able to. They call it somacha hot, which is a good vision or a good dream by a creator. So Michael Van or Matavil, somacha hot that was given to him to these men to put a song into an order and speak of the song throughout the night. So the song begins as the transition of the sun that goes down, and it goes on into the nighttime, and the night is born. See, what we're told is that the night and the daytime have their own souls, they're their own beings. So there's a time where the animals basically side with the daytime, and the animals that only stay with the nighttime. There's some that don't mix with that, So basically, it's their own little cruise, if you will. But the song begins about the sun transitioning, going down. Nyanyo Hawka, Nyanyo Hawka, the sun's setting. In the songs, the beginning songs, but we don't dance to speak of that. The transition of the sun, how it's moving, where it's going to help them get to the where they have to get to, and describe what the path they're going to see as they go on to travel. Because once our people leave us, we don't just leave, we have to travel for 4 days. And we travel to all the different areas that the song speaks of for today. So today I have this young man here is my boy. And I've taught him what I could teach him, and we're still learning because I'm still learning as well. I'm probably the only one in my age category that could talk Mojave. And it was taught by my elders. I was blessed to have a grandmother with sisters that were able to speak it. They're all gone now. My grandfather's side, they're all gone too. So we have they're both full bloods, so they relate to everybody. And St. David's my cousin from my uncle, his dad's side. My grandfather, they're all family to each other. Besides our last names are given, we're related to the clans also. So just because that we aren't living with each other, the clans still bring us together as one. We have different jobs as having a clan, Mojave clan. We come from the sky. We're called Och. And my name is Amaput Moyech Koak, which means when the monsoon time comes around, the storms come from the east, and that's what I am. It's a fierce dust storm that brings lots of rain. My name was given to me by my late aunt. Her name was Bernice Peterson, and she named me and my sister and my brother as well because my father's side it was a clan that we go off of. My mother's from Fort Yuma, and she has her own clan, but we don't go off that. We go for our father's clan. So going back to the song, this all relates to that with the bird song itself, but it talks about every life, trials and tribulations. So I'm doing my best to keep preserving and teaching who I can. There's many singers that sing today, but I always told my boy that we don't ever call yourself a bird singer. You know what you know, and it's given to you, then you use it in the right kind of way and respect it. Some people don't. They boast on it and they want to call themselves, entitle themselves, and that's not the way that my teacher told me to be. Don't put yourself up there on a pedestal because you can come down right away. You'll be turned down. You'll tear yourself down. So I've always go off what my teacher has told me. And he wasn't my blood relative, but he was an older man that was able to. It took many years to gain his respect and his knowledge. I didn't get it handed on a silver platter. take many times to have these elders that don't know you earn the respect from them, to do this, So um, I do my best, like I said, and there's only just a handful of us left that still know the song from beginning to end. I've never counted how many songs there are in the bird song, but I know I can sing from 7 in the evening to 11 o'clock in the morning. Where this young man that's going to be singing for you guys comes from that area, Kumiais. There are relatives as well, and their wakes go from 7 to 11 in the morning, and I was able to do it when I was younger and more stronger, but I'm getting older now and not the best health condition, but I'm able to do that. So I never counted how many songs there were. So because I'm, know that what's coming ahead for me, I know I got to share it with whoever I can, you know, because we don't know, you have we have to give what we can because sometimes we don't know when our time's called, and life goes on. For us Mavi people, there's, these things that are happening, these projects and these things and whatnot, and that's what happens with life. Nothing stays the same. Some people don't know what that means. They don't like change, but since it's for the better, it's for the betterment in a lot of ways. So with that being, I hope I said enough about the bird song, where it comes from and what I know about it, what the story it tells of, and who's telling it, the bird itself, as he flies and sees these things, it talks about just life of everyday things, to the morning time when the sun's about to come up, then the night, the birds and the birds in that time get sad because the new day's coming. So the birds, then they cry, they weep because their time's over with now. It's time to go into the new day. So there's a lot in between, and um, I'll have Donovan come up. I'll have him introduce himself.
Okay, Kamalu. My name's Donovan Nation. I am from Kumeyaay country down in San Diego, California. I'm just traveling through here. I was invited to be on behalf of the tribe to come here and sing tomorrow for an event. But during my travels today, they asked if I could come here and um, sing the bird songs for you today. Um, in my country, we are also looking to go beyond gaming and all these opportunities with companies like yourselves. And I'm very honored to be here and to be part of something like this. Um, for my tribe and for these tribes, we share the same song, like my teacher, my Ki'i here, is talking about. The one thing that these songs teach us is to live a good life and to be a good human, to take care of the land. And today, for all tribes, we are all looking, like I said, for opportunities to better ourselves and to grow with the world, because our tribes have a seat at the table of humanity. And so today, I think it's for me why I have an opportunity to speak that I urge all tribes to have a hand in the betterment of humanity and to contribute to mankind. And so for my country, we look upriver to this tribe, and we're looking to see what this tribe will make, what these tribes will do, because it will benefit us in some way. So for Kumeyaay country, I come and with support for my relative here, David, and I ask of you to give us a chance and to listen to us as we try to make a contribution to humanity. So thank you.
All right, welcome back, those of you at home. Let me move around a little bit. So we'd like to introduce Mr. Kevin Lowe. He came all the way from Vancouver, Washington, right? That's where you're from. He's a good man, a friend to the tribe, did a lot of work with Yakima. He's got some good stories about working in Indian country. So please give us a hand for Kevin Lowe.
Thank you. Hopefully, after all the good food, you're still awake and not falling asleep. So big thanks to the people who brought the food today. Do we have the slide deck? All right, so my name is Kevin Lowe. I'm with HP Inc., the computer and printer company, as you've probably figured out. I'm here because I'm interested in renewable energy, especially from tribes. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about HP. I've worked for HP for 28 years, and I am a director level IC within the company. So next slide. So HP was founded in 1939. We operate in about 170 countries with about 55,000 employees. It's a pretty big company. And as you know, we make PCs and printers, and we love AI, similar to how Rob told you all about it. Next slide. Now, what's really interesting about HP culture is that we really care about our contribution to society. And it's really not done by the, no problem, keep it there. It's really something founded by our founders who really wanted to show that we're more than just technology, we're here to make society better. Now, one thing that we talk about a lot in the company is that right now, human beings are consuming a lot of the earth, and we are averaging about 2.3 Earths. That's how much we're consuming out of the world today. And obviously that's not sustainable. And so one reason why I'm here is because as you know, European societies have learned about the importance of sustainability, they've realized that indigenous traditional ecological knowledge has already figured out how to have a sustainable culture and way of life. So we're starting to invest in that knowledge because we know that tribes know how to do it the right way. So next slide. So we have committed to trying to be the most ambitious company when it comes to climate action, and we have that showing up in our products. Next slide. Something to think about from consumption standpoint is every second we ship 2 PCs and 1 printer. So I just sold like 10 PCs, right? That's really awesome and scary at the same time. So one thing we've done is we started using a lot of recycled materials. If you look at my display in the back, we have consumed over 5 billion pounds of recycled plastic and other materials, right? So we're really investing in that circular economy. So that concern you have about how can we use water, can we use other things, that's what we're doing every day. For those of you who have printers, we have recycled over 1 billion inkjet and toner cartridges. Okay. And so it shows up in our products, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can see what we have is we have ocean-bound plastic, that's your water bottles. So we're using water bottles that we collect back in our products. We're recycling aluminum, plastic, polyester from clothes, as well as coffee grinds. Now, we're doing a good job on what we call consumption. So we're trying to replace virgin materials with recycled and reused materials. However, even at the end of the day, we still have a carbon footprint that we have to make up. And a lot of that's the energy. So if you buy an HP computer and you're using it, you're still using the carbon of the renewable energy. And so we are trying to offset that, and that's where this comes in. So right now, we have a goal to reduce our carbon footprint by 50% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2040. So why am I here? Well, I'm here because I'm interested in partnering with tribal nations on renewable energy, because as you build out your renewable energy, we can purchase the carbon credits and help you build that out as an off-taker, a customer, and help offset our carbon footprint. So first I want to talk about the smaller projects. So we have a new building, and I brought a little model. I might pass it around. This building just actually started opening today. So people moved in today. My boxes are still sitting there because I'm not there to unpack. But this is in Vancouver, Washington, and we're very proud of it. It is our flagship new R&D facility, and it is made from sustainable mass timber. So what you'll see in that model is a representation of the mass timber that was used in the building. Now that's kind of what it looks like. So you can see the sort of the architectural picture on the top, but that's an actual picture of the wood inside the building. So the whole building is made of sustainable mass timber, and it is 3.1 million board feet of sustainable mass timber. Next slide. Now, why is wood so important to HP? Well, we want to invest in tribes, but we do this around the world today. So you'll see my display back there about the World Wildlife Fund. We partner with groups like the World Wildlife Fund to invest in forestry, in the Amazon and the Atlantic rainforest. And we do that to not only restore the environment, we also look to create jobs. And so we're really excited about the idea that Dave is doing, which could create jobs for people within the tribes. Now, we also care about the sourcing. So we care about where things come from. So this is all about transparency. We want to be transparent and tell people a story when we source things in the right way. Now, what's interesting about the building is of that 3.1 million board feet, 44% comes from tribal nations and First Nations in North America, with 33% actually coming from the Yakima Nation, as well as Colville, Kalispel, and Spokane tribes. So we're very excited about that. Now, what we also, you can imagine what we want to do next is that as we build out the building here, you can see where the different tribal nations contributed to the different parts of it. You know, I know you've heard of glulam or CLT, but those are different types of wood products that can be made out of tribal wood. And we've been talking about it publicly, telling people the story about sourcing from tribes for wood. You don't have to take my word for it. There are tribal newspapers that are actually publishing the information as well, so it's not just my word of mouth. And so, you know, with 33% of the wood coming from the Yakima forest products, I wanted to play a video for you to see kind of the way HP thinks about things.
The land tells you what the history is. Each of our stories and our legends are linked to making sure that we are respectful of the resources that we value today.
We were always told that you're not going to do it because it's a job. You do it because that's how much you love your children.
The land tells you what the history is. Each of our stories and our legends are linked to making sure that we are respectful of the resources that we value today.
We were always told that you're not going to do it because it's a job. You do it because that's how much you love your children. That's how much you love your people.
And that's how we raise our children. We instill these values into them of hunting and fishing and food gathering and taking care of the land, the water. We really value these mountains because this is what sustains our life. We can go out as we come back and we follow our ancestors' footsteps.
Our people have been persecuted ever since the treaty happened, but we continue to sing our songs. We continue to carry out our way. And when you're out fishing, you carry on that song. You're continuing our way of life that is tied to the water, tied to the land that we sing and celebrate. When you catch a fish, you know that you're a provider to your people because you are providing food back onto the tables.
Every ceremony that we have, there's always a meal to follow. We eat together. The laughter comes. The laughter is always a good medicine when you're cooking or even when you're sitting down for a meal.
There's a whole forest infrastructure of people working in the woods, and those things are connected.
It provides a lot of jobs out there, and it helps us manage our forest in the way that we want to manage it.
When I'm grading lumber, I'm focused. I mean, there's nothing around me. I don't know who's around me. I don't know nothing. My mind's right on that board. Trained a lot of graders in my life. I keep eye on them too, making sure the best quality finish is on the lumber.
There is a lot to learn, a lot of things that you should remember. It takes dedication to want to learn all of the rules, the wood that we're trying to put out, the best quality.
Big pine trees, they make the best shop lumber because it's all clear wood and there's no defects in it. It's the best there is.
I feel that I'm honored to work here. Our name is on the product.
The quality of what we do in our forest is tied to the quality of wood that's able to produce. And those boards go to places, and the values that we are as Yakima goes to those places.
HP has a project in Vancouver where they sourced our wood here on our reservation.
When you go to HP and you see the boards, it's that, those voices, the history, the belief of people that have gone before, and to see it really grow to fruition is beautiful.
It just makes you give a good feeling to know, hey, I had something to do with that. I made that look good. You know, that was me up there.
It was kind of a little emotional seeing it actually being used instead of just watching it being sold and seeing it go down the road and then you never see it again.
Being able to source your lumber back to the land where it came from, it's creating relationships with the people, and it's an understanding of who we are. I feel like it's just such an honor to represent Yakima Nation. It is my hopes and my prayers that we'll all continue on and to be able to take care of this earth the best way possible so that our children and grandchildren will have what we have today and more.
But that's only the start of what we're doing, right? We're actually purchasing carbon credits, and we're actually trying to get something called, let's see if we can go to the next slide. We're trying to get certifications for our buildings. So those who work with buildings might have heard of LEED certification or International Living Futures Institute Zero Carbon certification. So to get that certification, which we've committed to publicly, we have to basically procure the credits for renewable energy things. But what I want to point out to you is requirement 3 says I need to demonstrate that I have 100% renewable electricity from nationality. And so we really want to come and see if we can do that with tribes. Maybe next slide. And for this building, which you can see there, kind of under construction, it's 3 gigawatt hours per year for 15 years. So we are looking to tribal nations to see, we would like to source our 100% of renewable energy from tribal nations. But we definitely want to at least do as good as we have done on wood. We're talking about deals with companies like HP. We're talking about 3 gigawatt hours per year for 15 years. Not a one-time transaction like the wood, but something ongoing that's sustaining. And that's where Huurav Energy and where Dave comes in. If you can go back one real quick. What I also want to point out that that's just for this building. HP's entire North American load is well over 10x that number. Now, the other part is we're trying to do something called Scope 3 emissions. So that's the amount of renewable energy or energy that people are using when you use our devices. We also want to cover that. We have to cover that footprint as well. And that footprint's over 100 times larger than the 3 gigawatt hours per year. So we're really excited about a potential opportunity with Huurav for 3 gigawatt hours per year, but the potential goes beyond HP, goes beyond this building to really an amazing chance to really build out renewable energy in this country for everyone, and tribes can be the leading edge of that tip of the spear. So we'll hope you will consider a renewable energy partnership with HP. We're really excited about the agrivoltaics, and we just appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you today. So thank you.
Golly, that was really good. All right, so next we have Sydney. Sydney's been working on the agrivoltaic in the valley. She's been bridging with Kevin, and I just want to give her just a quick moment to talk about a little bit what she's been doing and what her perspective is on this.
Hello, everybody. As my dad mentioned, my name is Sydney Harper. I am a Colorado River Indian tribe member, so I'm a product of everything here. I'm a believer in everything that's here. A lot of people like to credit my dad for me kind of following him, but it was really my grandma Mamie. She kind of set the seed, and my dad has been a catapult for everything that has come to what it is right now. I don't know if many of you saw the press release that we had, but I kind of talked about it a little bit in there about Huurav and kind of why it's important to me. This is my family land. This is the land that my grandma and my grandpa, they built the house together. They raised their kids. They had 11 children, and then we all grew up there. I remember being a kid and being in the haystacks playing, running away from snakes, trying to catch the frogs with all my cousins. So it's kind of full circle that it comes back to my grandma's land because that's where it all started. You know, I think a lot of times there's a lot of misconception on, you know, renewable energy and the ways that we can, you know, catapult our own tribe with it. And with things like these and partners like these and partners like Kevin, you know, they believe in us just as much as we believe in them. And so, you know, I truly, truly want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here tonight. You know, I know there's a lot going on in our community as well. So I urge you guys to make sure you guys are in good health. And, you know, again, I just want to thank you guys for being here, and everybody that contributed to tonight. So again, thank you, and, you know, safe travels as you guys go home. And we hope you guys can join us tomorrow for our celebration day. So thank you.
All right, now we got the lightning round. Jen Bruda, where you at? Right, just gave up and went home. Oh, there you are. Oh, she stepped out. We're gonna have to bring her AI over here then to replace her. All right, so the lightning round is about sponsorship. And what we do is we provide the opportunity for those who are invited to who have supported us financially to have a piece of the pie here to talk about who they are and how they impact tribes. So, first one on the list will have MJ Parent from Raven Outlook. MJ? All right, well, we still want her money. All right. Florence from Ovista. Florence Lutka. Again, Florence has been really good to us, so we appreciate her. And here we go, here we go, here we go.
Thank you, Dave. So I think there should be a little presentation. Okay, great. So as Dave mentioned, I'm Florence Ludka, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Ovista Corporation. And I am from the Sioux Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians, which is located on the border of northern Michigan and Canada. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. So Ovista is a Native CDFI intermediary, and we do work on the national level, so the lower 48 as well as Hawaii and Alaska. And we basically provide capital for economic infrastructure in Indian country. So we're the longest standing Native CDFI intermediary, and our role is simple, but it's powerful. We provide capital, training, technical assistance, and policy support to ensure that Native communities have all the tools they need. Our impact is very impactful. And there's a bunch of numbers up there that I won't read, but these represent, they're more than impact that these numbers represent. They represent households, so Native individuals getting homes of their own, Native entrepreneurs that are being supported in their business endeavors. It's sovereignty for not only our communities, but also for the people that are living within those communities. So it's our role as an intermediary to ensure that Native communities and other Native CDFIs have the capital and the expert technical assistance that's needed to scale this impact even further. The next slide, please. So we do this with several different mechanisms. One is the use of new market tax credits, and new market tax credits are used for large-scale infrastructure. We also use participation lending and capital weaves from multiple Native-led partners. That comes into play with our partnership with Huurav Energy, for example. We do clean energy lending that supports resilient and sovereign energy systems. And we do bridge and permanent financing for tribal utilities and essential services and other community facilities. So this is just a couple examples of some of the projects that we've done recently. And one is on the Umatilla Reservation. This was a $66.5 or $66 million project. And we had several different partners in on this. It's the Karen Springs Flour Mill. It is an individual enterprise, but it is partially tribally owned. And there's many tribal citizens will have jobs there, so it was job creation, as well as the tribe is able to sell the wheat that they grow to the flour mill. So there was a lot of community of great outcomes that we looked at. So that was one of the ones, and we just recently closed on that, not just a couple of months ago. The other one is from Metlakatla, Alaska, and it was basically to run power to the island that was previously dependent on a diesel generator. So as you know, diesel fuel is very expensive, and it just wasn't environmentally friendly either. It also kept breaking down and different things like that. So we were able to run a cable and do the interconnection down below. And because we were going through all of the effort of laying the cable over to the island, we also were able to run fiber optic as well, so that they would have internet, which they previously didn't have. So that project, can we go back to that other one? Yeah, that project was about $5.2 million, and we ended up only at the end, after tax credits and things like that, for $1.1 million in permanent financing. So that is another story. So the next slide, please. The other thing that we're really heavily involved in is health centers. So we've done quite a few of these deals, but these are just two of the most recent ones. One was a $46 million healthcare clinic at the Lakudere tribe in Wisconsin. And the other one was a $22.5 million behavioral healthcare center for the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma. So those are two additional ones. And if you go to my very last slide, those are the barcodes. And the one on the right, on your right, is a barcode that goes to our Capital Weave kind of portfolio. And so that will have all the projects that we've worked on recently. And there we went back, I think, 2 years when we put that in. So there are others too, if you're interested, but that just has all of the details, who our partners were, how much money it was, and where those projects were done at. The one on your left is just a barcode that goes to our annual report, in case you're interested. But I will be here tomorrow as well, so if any of you have any questions, I'm happy to talk with you or answer any questions you have. And thank you to Dave and Jen for inviting me out here. So.
Thank you. I almost got away with Dave. My name is Shawnee Lafoon. I'm a tribal member of the Colorado River Indian Tribes, and I will be your moderator for the lightning round. So we'll get right into it. Next up, I have Adam Miller from Solarity. You could probably better pronounce that up here. Thank you.
It's perfect, it's perfect. So we have a few slides here that we're going to pull up, but I'm going to move through it pretty quickly, just to predominantly share a few ideas. I think that this has just been a ton of energy and a ton of ideas around agrivoltaics to start. So most of my work has been in the microgrid world. And so big word, big term, but what that really means is systems, electrical systems that can connect and disconnect an island for extended periods of time. Next slide. So this is a bit of an eye chart. I'll just tell you the story behind it because it's probably more impactful. But we had an organization a couple years ago come to my company and ask us about producing solar systems to help farmers in South Sudan, which at the time was the youngest nation in the world. It's a fairly young nation that's separated from Sudan. And they wanted to put these power systems in place where there was no grid. So we couldn't do a microgrid, as I just defined it. Standalone power systems. These are very, very small systems, around 5 kW. That's what you'd put on a relatively, small home. And they can help a farmer effectively irrigate up to 1.5 acres. And what you'll see in I think it's the bottom right, if you get a chance to look at this, when we did it at the time, it wasn't to make money, it was to make an impact. And so this was a whole business case around just getting our money back. But ultimately what it was is a profit sharing agreement as a financier, our company, doing an impact investment. And what ended up happening next is we got our systems in, and then civil war broke out, crop prices went through the roof, and the payback to the farmers was, it was tremendous. It was about five times as fast as we thought it was. So impacts through standalone power systems. And I know people in the room here, are out there to actually develop electrical systems that, can bring food to market where power is not. So next slide. All right, we'll skip this one, right? Just gives you a little bit of the risks and rewards of doing something like that. All right, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is time is of the essence. So if you want to take advantage of these tax credits that we've been talking about that are 30 to 50%, they are sunsetting this July. Unfortunately, right there in the middle of that, right around 9/2 of last year, the executive order guidance from after the One Big Beautiful Bill Act came out, and that caused these investment tax credits to sunset this July, but there is hope. You can safe harbor those credits for up to 4 years for smaller systems that are under 1.5 megawatts, so roughly 2 times the size of the system that the Huurav team is putting up. You can safe harbor those, and if you want to learn a little bit more about that, definitely follow up with them, but I'm certainly happy to talk to you a little bit more about that. You can do it by simply spending around 5% of the material costs, put it in an inventory in your name if you're claiming the credit, and you can safe harbor that project for up to 4 years. Larger projects, it's a harder task. Slide. Yep. And this is just a little bit about what we do. What I will tell you is a competent solar developer, which is what we are. We also finance our projects using the tools that we used to call it the National Renewable Energy Lab. David was using that term a lot. That's the way I still think of them, but it's the National Lab of the Rockies now. They invented this technology. It's extremely ripe for AI. It makes it very, very easy to take your ideas around solar and within, I don't know, hours, have a really good rough order of magnitude that then you can take to market and take to the others in this room. So that is a great application for machine learning and AI. And I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam. All right, next up from U.S. Global Energy, Ron Poplawski.
Good evening. I will restrain myself to 5 minutes allocated. And that is why we have only one slide. We are just traditional developers of utility scale wind, solar, and green hydrogen projects. The green hydrogen projects are a little bit on a back burner right now. And unfortunately, on the large utility projects, we will not make the cutoff date of July of this year. But nonetheless, you've probably heard the old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, all the benefits were created with a pen, taken away with a pen, and it will be resurrected with a pen. So, so essentially, we're okay. Now, you're probably wondering why a company like ours would be looking at doing utility scale projects in tribal lands. This is a simple extension of our international projects that we've been doing in many parts of the world, from Europe to South America, and as far east as Mongolia. US Global partners with very large international utilities or investment funds, because as you know, it is an incredibly capital intensive industry. So doing projects in Indian country is just a natural extension of our international work. And what makes it really attractive for us is the sovereignty that the tribal nations possess. In fact, by utilizing that sovereignty, they can cut development time on these projects to 1/3. And obviously, they have to assert that authority. And we know that it can be done. And we're in the midst of a number of projects. The legislation hit a little bit of a bump, but we'll be fine. The other issue that I also wanted to mention is what has already been spoken here, is agrivoltaics, the dual use of land to generate electricity and use the land to generate money, well, through agriculture. And also, in many instances, it can actually rejuvenate the land that oftentimes has been parched by the sun. And the interesting thing is, the more projects are done in Indian country, the more will be done because there will be more confidence by major financiers and investors. To make a long story short, we are very much interested in doing utility scale projects. Utility scale, we're talking about 100 megawatts on up. We will do smaller projects if we can attach them to a large one. So essentially, that is our interest. I think we're on the right path. And these are purely commercial ventures. We do not rely on any grants or anything of that sort, but we will take all the tax credits that we can get. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, next up we have Jennifer Gordon from Cultural Resource Manager, Southwestern Power Group.
Great. I also only have one slide, and I know we're all wanting to go, so I'm just going to cut right to the chase. First of all, thank you, Huurav Energy, for allowing Southwestern Power Group to help sponsor this great event. Thank you very much. My name is Jennifer Gordon. I am the Cultural Resources Manager at Southwestern Power Group. I work with the environmental permitting team there. My job is essentially to help facilitate and oversee communications with our tribal stakeholders. Otherwise, Southwestern Power Group is a small independent developer that focuses on utility scale transmission and generation projects across the desert Southwest. I could talk to you about our main project right now, which is Rio Sol, but that can be a conversation for either later tonight. I will be using the Wi-Fi outside by the casino, along with many other of you, I'm sure, and then I'll also be around tomorrow. If you're interested in talking to any folks at Southwestern Power Group, I'm happy to help introduce you and talk to you about possible partnerships or even just informal consultation that you might want to have, even just to discuss power and energy development across the state generally. We're happy to have those conversations with you. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Jesse from Z Global. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you for the invite, and it's a pleasure being here and seeing all you folks that are interested in the development of energy projects here on tribal lands. Z Global is if we can go to the slides, I have a couple, but that's just the introduction, but you can go to the next slide. Z Global, we're broken up into three really three basic areas within our organization. The first one is power engineering, and power engineering, and also development of projects. Over the past 2 decades, we've developed over 577 projects in 26 states. Not, mostly renewable generation, but also transmission, distribution projects. We also have a team within our shop that does economic evaluation and asset valuation. And so what we do is that we provide the integration of generation into the power grid. We help support that process with utilities. Most of the team that work at Z Global, we're ex-utility employees. We were part of PG&E, the Cal ISO project, SRP, APS, companies like that. And so that's our kind of our niche, that we help projects get to the finish line. Next slide. Another thing that we do is once projects are online, we do scheduling coordination. Currently, we manage about over 8,000 megawatts of generation that is being scheduled and consumed. If you calculate that into homes, it's about 6.5 million homes that we manage the power, the energy that goes to these areas. There's different horizons when you're scheduling energy. We do day ahead, real time, and after the fact settlements on all these types of generation assets that we have. Our main focus, they've asked me to kind of coordinate or discuss some of the interaction that we have with tribes. And one of the things that we have done that we have partnered with tribes. We have partnered with tribes to sell large generation assets to the market. So it's not just locating assets on tribal lands, but partnering up with tribes to locate assets and sell the energy of those assets into the energy markets. So that is something that we really did not discuss or touch, but there's opportunities there for tribes to come together and be able to sell energy to the energy markets and and bring benefits to the local communities. So again, I thank you so much for inviting us and for allowing us to be a part of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you for our lightning round speakers and as well as your sponsorship. Not a lightning round speaker, but I did want to give a shout out to Sarah Jimenez. She was also a intern for our sister programs at Seventh Skyline. But she also is a great artisan. She has beautiful jewelry. So if you have time on your way out, please go check out Sarah Jimenez. So if you want to turn your neck to your right towards the back, she is back there. So thank you, Sarah, for hanging out with us. And I'll turn it back over to Dave.
People from out of state that came, right? And then with the tribal community. So we just want to recognize our staff real quick who put this together. So our first one is Montana Small. Yeah, Montana was in charge of all the what were you in charge of? A little bit of everything? Yeah, so he brought you some jelly from Oregon. You live in Oregon, so it's your home product. You want to say a few words? Just real quick. Hi. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Easy peasy. We're teaching her public speaking, so that we're starting out small. And then we like to recognize Sid Harper. She did a lot of work. She was hauling Kevin's stuff around, and she was on the ground. And about a year ago, we got this jelly for her. She brought it home and passed it on to all her friends. And I think they got COVID from sharing the jar. I don't know. But yeah, that's for you. Thank you for all your help. And so I always say a couple of things as we're done now and go home. Next week, I don't want to be down in the hood there and see you driving by with somebody. Go home. You got a family waiting for you. Don't be hanging around here. Don't find love in the casino and think you're going to be a tribal member. We don't get per capita maybe once a year, and that's already usually spent. So don't think you're going to find a Mojave queen or king here. And so, but no, we want to thank everybody for coming out here. We appreciate it. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were just kind of like a wing and a prayer, but we really I really wanted to bring our launch of Huurav so our people will know what we're doing. I always get this thing where people see me come and go, come and go, come and go, and then they're like, "Where are you at today? Where are you at? Where are you at?" Montana. Last week, a couple of days ago, we were somewhere else. I don't know where. Anyway, probably once a week we're somewhere flying. We were in Washington with Frank Lanzi. So we work with over 80 tribes. And so we're on the ground all the way across the United States. And so we're always moving and trying to get this Huurav off the ground. And so, we just want to let everybody know we appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Again, check out Sarah. We do have some cinnamon rolls here, homemade, brand new, just out of the oven. That sounds good with coffee pretty soon. But we want to thank everybody for coming in. Jen wants to have a photo op with everybody. So we're asking if you want to come up and have your picture taken, and child support will find you from that picture, or you're most wanted, or you're not supposed to be in the public, but you're here, we'll find you. But we want to thank the tribal royalty for coming. We got one more queen left, hanging in there. All right. And so we'd like to thank the tribal members for coming out. Appreciate it. And all those from the different tribes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Everybody have a safe trip home. Like I said, go home. Don't want to see you next week around here. And appreciate all your support. Thank you.